We're live.
Go for it, Charles.
This happened to me last time. I don't know why it doesn't want my window. Great, I'll share my entire screen then. All right, you see?
Got it.
Yep.
Paranautical
Right.
activity. Okay.
I had Paranautical activity. It was like someone stole Doom.
Tell me that you. Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness, that's just.
There was some copyright infringement.
I added that in.
Oh, okay. The Bowie.
Oh,
David
that's
Bowie.
That's copyright strike right there. You can't
Right.
monetize now.
Did tell me you went hardcore or infinite?
I couldn't. You have to like beat the game on the other one before you can. I was upset too. Not that it would have mattered. I could barely beat the anything with this. I mean, it's. I would explain a lot more, but it's Doom. I mean, there's nothing special about this. This is Doom.
Well, it's Doom in the Minecraft world.
Yeah, I mean, if you rack up money, you can go buy stuff that you never have enough money for.
Oh.
You get out of this elevator. Sometimes you'll go in, and the very first room you walk into is the boss, and it's completely random, and it makes zero sense.
Was it responsive?
That was the first level.
Was it quick and responsive?
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. You have these super weapons, and you have that's the only thing you don't have unlimited bullets of. And if you hit anything with the unlimited weapons, look at his power. Like, it just destroys them. I hit him twice with the big weapon, and that's how I beat the first level.
Yeah.
But there's I mean, I would love to say there's something special about it, but it was like it's every other game you've ever played that someone tried to copy Doom.
Yeah, but it's somebody else's art and weapons.
Golito.
I feel like a shotgun's a shotgun, and it's going to be the same for everything.
It does look like it's built out of Legos.
Yes.
So if I were to ask you then on the art, was there anything that you liked about the art?
No, I actually was pissed off how dark it was. Like you can see at the very beginning, like my screen is pretty bright, and it goes to like I can't see anything that's happening. And there's lots of these creatures that crawl around on the ground, and you're just constantly getting hit, and you don't even know where it's coming from.
And what about the mechanics? Was there anything interesting about the controls?
I remember the first time I told you if you go look at like the options down here, it'll tell you go look at your game engine to determine what the controls are. I had to go look online on what the exe was because it wasn't displayed anywhere in this game. But there wasn't any special buttons. There was just move forward, back, left, right, right click, left click. Oh, and left shift, swap between two weapons.
Yeah.
There's nothing special. Like it was just a run of the mill like game to me. Like it wasn't anything great. And like I kept thinking like there's so many other things I could be doing.
What about the story? Is it a good story?
If there was a story, I didn't get it.
You didn't play long enough to hear the story. There was a really great narrative that kicked in at some point.
Right.
I'm sure.
No, it played. I turned the volume down on it. It plays probably loud German techno through the whole thing. So
and you turned it down?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Because it got to be really, really annoying after about 20 minutes.
No, wait. Was it German? Because
you get the Swedish murder rap once you unlock it.
Yeah,
you unlock hardcore.
Swedish death
you get
metal.
That Swedish murder rap. Yeah.
Was it German because that's what they spoke in, or because you know the German style of?
There was no actual words to it. It was just just loud noises and like creaky noises with like the noises and the techno sound in the background.
The noise. Turn down that noise. Charles will be our old man for the night.
All right.
What's your rating? Are we still doing ratings? Or is that?
Last week I feel like I had the perfect game for what this review was. This is just an annoyance to get assigned it. It was an actual game, and it looked like it was gonna be great, and like it looked like it was gonna be fun, and like it was just a game. Like it was just I a time fill for me.
I mean, at least it wasn't a RPG handout to build your own card game, right, Corey?
I told you, I just wouldn't have
True.
done it.
Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
like a
I don't want to
champ.
make a game.
He did that like a champ. All right, who
Oh,
wants
really?
to go
Okay,
next?
cool. I am set up to go.
Let's do it.
Hopefully, I thought streaming the right. I think the live thing went away. Am I streaming?
You're streaming us.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm watching.
It's an Inception stream.
Getting an echo though.
Am I sharing VLC?
You are
I sound
you are
like a
streaming your
sharing.
deck.
That's
Still streaming Discord.
Oh,
I've been sharing 2 audios too.
Well, he was
okay. Yeah,
streaming
that's
Discord,
right. I
so
made
it was pulling the audio off of Discord.
I made the always first mistake of seeing that hidden screens tab.
Yeah.
It's not-
Desktop instead of window.
yeah, that's what I did wrong. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did last week.
All right. So, excuse me. So, my game was the Enigma machine, and just going to start the video, random clips. So you are what you'll first apologies because I had my base canvas wrong. So this is zoomed in compared to the whole screen, but it's a general gist. You be able to get the point. So this is there's an Enigma corporation. They make artificial or have made artificial intelligence for androids, and what they do is they send the dreamscape, which is the mental the inside of the AI's let me see what I'll read my notes.
I gotta say,
it's
so far I'm impressed with the attention to detail of this opening screen. It really replicates like an old CRT, an old EGA monitor.
That's funny though, because he had a copyright of 2055 though.
Well, yeah, it's in the future.
And they
So
made
this,
AI with this thing.
So this this opens up I kind of fast forwarded it here, but you kind of got to answer prompts. If you ever played EverQuest, you have to like type exactly what's in the brackets. And it asked me, so this is AI, so I'm sitting here messing with it right now. It's asking me if I agree, so I start typing in maybe, no, or maybe, yeah. What do you think? You know, all these other just random answers, and it just kept on giving me the same thing until I finally typed yes. So then you go through all these texts, you find out this is Dreamscape, or you're participating in a Dreamscape, an interactive 3D environment, which represents the mental state of that particular android. So when it gets contaminated, which is mentioned is inevitable, what you're actually interacting with, that prompt and text, is an AI created by Enigma. And the purpose of this AI is, it kind of sounds very a la Portal. The purpose of this AI is to, when an Android AI gets contaminated, they send in a RAID, in capital RADE, which is you in this instance, into the AI to describe or to kind of decontaminate it, figure out what's going on. So this is supposedly a simulation, and they tell you have to go and find these codes. So right there at the top of the screen, your only movement is WASD and a shift. So this is holding down shift right now.
This is run mode.
So this is you running. This is run mode. So even though this game's kind of small, it's one of those games where you mouse over everything, every book on every shelf, to see if text comes up or highlights or whatever else, to see if it's something you can interact with. But the text engages you and says, or the AI that you're working with engages you and says, so we need to find the codes, and this is broken up into 3 or multiple. This is broken up into multiple levels. It doesn't say 3 to go through, and it also mentions that when this is a simulation, and the simulation is always has the levels split up. So as you go through this, I found the code, and which was 245F, So I just come back here and I type it into, go back to the original AI and type it in. And you can see that I'm at decontamination level 25%. And so you interact a little bit more with the AI, or the AI here. You get more options, and that's unfortunately what was cut off. If you look way on the right side of the screen, there's what they refer to as the, well, before it flipped, was the query list. So as you're interacting with it, it'll put query words and lists and stuff up there that one of them was Enigma. So I typed in Enigma and it told me what Enigma was. Another one was Dreamscape. So I typed in Dreamscape and it did that. So you kind of unlock a little more and more as you find these codes through levels. So this is level 2. This one was a little bit tougher. And as I found, it's a very small room that you can see here. There's 3 sections and they have these little italicized eye plates that are on the right. And when you mouse over them, they would say code 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. So I'm sitting here messing around, trying to figure out, I'm mousing over these. And I'm saying, okay, this is code 2 of 3. In this instance, there's 1 of 3. So I find these codes, and then there's like something looks like Simon Says in here. And I'm looking around, and one of them moused over and it said reflections. And this particular point right here, so I was running around this room for like 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And one of them said reflections. And it's this moment that I saw that there were actually reflections in the floor on how to engage.
I was appreciating the reflections in that room when you walked in, and I immediately noticed what I thought was an error in the game, in that there were reflections on the floor that didn't exist on the walls.
Right. Yeah. So that's part of this puzzle. And I don't know if you can hear where it's saying RR really loud in the background. I thought it was RR, and I was really struggling with the colors since I have a visual color deficiency. So I actually had to ask my wife to come in and help me kind of like go through this particular portion. So looking at the reflections and seeing the stuff that was on the floor helped me get the gramophone or whatever to play, which to me sounded like RR. So I went back and forth to this terminal in the level multiple times to figure out which code to punch in. And then finally I gave the headphones to my wife and I'm like, what does this say to you? And she says 4-4. I'm like, oh, that's not what I hear. But anyway, so she was correct, like she usually is. So I typed in that code, and then that is what you see here. It transitions again into level 3, and then this is just kind of randomized, game. This is just extremely fast, sped up gameplay. The coolest part, maybe, of the little puzzles to figure out was this one. You can see up in the sky, there's like some errant computer code or whatever, and it's here where I walked away, and then I walked back. I'm like, what was that? And then I noticed that in the terminal, in the bottom left, is someone typing, and it's the word gun. So I go back and I type in, and you had to like look way up like I was in order to get it to show. But I went back and I typed in gun, and then it actually unlocks a gun for you. And then from there, you can go back to previous levels where there were, when you moused over it, it would say like weak wall or crumbling wall or something. Clicking on it would do nothing. But when you pull out the gun and you shoot it, it opens up another passageway. And then what you find is, comes the spoiler, is you start shooting the walls like I'm doing now. I found 3 letters that were on the wall working through this, A, B, and D, that each, when you moused over them, had their own code. And then from level 3, you see from level 3, you walk into level 2, and then the AI that's communicating with you in text starts to kind of go off the wall like, wait a minute, this shouldn't happen. These levels are supposed to be separated. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? We should stop this. I don't know if you should go farther. And then when you go back to level 1, and there's a corridor, it's a very small level, but there's a corridor in the beginning, you shoot, and that corridor actually is this door here at the end of level 3. And then from level 3, you can access to level 2. So then the AI starts saying, oh my goodness, these are all connected. I'm ending this simulation. Get out of here. Delete the Enigma machine. And that's as far as I got. So this is it. I tried for another 30 minutes of running through all the levels and clicking on stuff. And I even asked my wife again, am I missing anything? I tried putting in all the ABD codes and various stuff, and I couldn't get any farther. And I was struggling with the game. It might not be apparent in some of these videos, but the textures and tiles are all messed up. They look kind of like weird something.
They seem warped as you're walking through it.
Right. And so that was really between a combination of that and the pixelation of some of those parts when it was doing that. It was almost like if you played Quake or Quake 2 and you turned your field of vision up to like 160, where you move it just like an inch to the left and the whole entire screen like warps way away from you and back. That like started really making me motion sickness. I've never like experienced that. So I got to the point where I'm just like, there's nothing really obvious with this, and I can't really take this much further. So my wife said, "Well, I'll do it," and she's downstairs installing it.
She beat it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, so probably she might have beat it by now. So I was kind of bummed I didn't actually get to the end. There's maybe something obvious that I missed, but my big problem was running back and forth everywhere to check everything, check all these things that you'd normally think of in one of these games. And I'm the type of person that like I mouse over everything. Anything that says that it's locked, well, I'm going to spam click the mouse in case there's some hidden feature where the faster I click, the more force I add to the door or random stuff like that. So anyway, I didn't get to the end of it, unfortunately. And the only sad part about that, I guess, for me is that in the notes of the game, it said average playthrough is 60 to 90 minutes. And at this point, I was at like minute 100, 105, and I was only at decontamination 60%. So, I don't know. We'll see when my wife gets through it. Maybe either that or I have to look up someone else's walkthrough, I guess. But, so maybe we'll do a flashback week later on where I could give you remember this we did in week 2? Well, here's the conclusion.
I couldn't let it go.
The game,
I had to keep
like
trying.
That. But that is the Enigma machine.
That actually looked pretty cool. So it reminds me a little bit, I mean, nowhere near the graphic stuff, but it reminds me a little bit of something like, I mean, obviously an Escape the Room, but it also reminds me of like Myst, where you're exploring kind of an unknown thing and you're picking up clues and you're... now, did you have to like write stuff down, or did the game remember everything that you learned in the game?
Neither. So I did not have to write stuff down. I probably should have, so I didn't have to reload the level and re-walk my slow ass all the way back to the code to know that my potential dyslexia or whatever transposed two of the numbers, and that was my whole problem on one of the codes.
Right.
Yeah, I probably should have maybe written them down, and maybe that might be something that someone else might naturally might do,
as opposed to like your character in the game just knowing whatever you learned. I like it that you would potentially have to like take your own notes and put together your own research in order to continue and push on in that game.
Yeah, you mentioned Myst in there, and I actually got two kind of like a crossbreed, if you will, between Portal. There was a lot of interacting with that text where the immediate visions of Gladys saying that from Portal, if you ever played the Portal games. Mm-hmm. The main antagonist is Gladys, which is a robot AI, machine. And I was a lot of that imagery kind of popped into my head. That's like this. Some of the stuff makes me feel like I'm talking with Gladys. The other one you mentioned was Myst. I got that as well. But where I immediately said, no, I don't want to pull Myst in a comparison down to this level, was that Myst actually gave you lots of vibrant sound, even for back then.
Yeah. As
you were interacting and walking through the world. So you didn't really hear your footsteps, but you heard like door creaks and you heard birds chirping and there's a lot
seaside and all that. Yeah. Just
audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. They added that audible stuff to it. That wasn't here in this game outside of a couple of latch unlocks when you had to unlock some of the doors, and in one instance where you're looking out the window, there were birds chirping.
Yeah, but how big is the development team from Cyan that did Myst and Riven, that whole series, versus this masterpiece that you just
this
played?
May have been one person,
right? So
college project.
Yeah, as you were going through this, I'm like, this feels very much, like the immersion level of trying to solve the puzzles felt very much like Myst/Riven, but then also meets The Witness. I don't know if anybody have played The Witness.
No, I haven't played that one.
Right,
yeah,
that
it's
you
an
went into that
indoor
room with the
witness.
reflections. It was like that instantly felt like that. But yeah, it almost felt like you were very much into the game, but there were some visual and audio challenges for sure.
So I would say that answer would overly be yes, outside of knowing that it's not a AAA game, but knowing that the game is not kind of my kind of game. there was a game a long time ago. It's like the seventh something. You're basically like in a mansion with other guests.
Yeah.
Seventh guest. Yeah. So it's like, and I saw someone playing that, and I'm like, man, some of these puzzles are really cool. And if you sit down and you just like, someone gives me a puzzle where there's weird mechanics and I got to figure out how it works, that is kind of like more my thing. But when it comes down to running through an interactive, immersive 3D world where you're going slow as shit with 3D nauseating textures that are warping all over your place, that's where I kind of struggled to stay in it, is because I couldn't immerse myself enough to forget about that, that queasiness I was getting, or my eyes felt like tingly or crossing. It was really kind of messing with me. And maybe that was put there on purpose. There was a couple like flash television blurring screen shakes that went through there that also kind of caught me off guard. I discounted those, no big deal. But yeah, some of those textures going around, it just really like, I gotta figure out and be done with this portion because it's killing me. You know what I mean? So that was maybe my challenge.
I thought it was pretty cool though. Pretty
I'll report back on my wife's take.
Yeah.
For a 60, 90-minute game, I mean, it's definitely better than, it was more immersive and had a lot more detail than some other potential, titles that we might encounter, or PDFs or whatever.
So on a scale of bananas to AI instances, you give this
I would give it 5 automations.
5 automations in a Factorio pile.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Who's up next?
Guess I can go.
All right.
See if I can actually share the screen correctly this time.
This is the best part, watching everybody fumble to actually share the right screen.
Corey, to share out on VLC, did you have to go start streaming before it would let you share it?
No, all I did was share that particular monitor, and then I drug the VLC window
Oh,
over there.
you shared the whole monitor. You wouldn't let me share the app. That's what I was confused on.
This time it let me share the app.
I've seen that too. It only works when it's it only works when it's not full screen.
Okay, maybe that was what the problem was.
I assume my video is showing?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So I have the sword and the slime, which was not quite what I was expecting.
I had great expectations for this.
It's too easy to pull a sword out of a slime, right? It should be stone. It should be stone or something like that.
Well, this is loud. I gotta turn that down.
We can't.
All right. So yeah, basically you're the little fairy. Your mouse is that little fairy, and then the sword just follows you around. I guess as you're floating through here, it's giving you hints. You can left click to do your little attack move. And then here it tells you hold the right click to restart. So I guess what I didn't realize at the time is there's a place where you can get stuck and you'll just have to restart. But yeah, I got tricked. If you get near the purple things, you kind of lose control of the sword. If you get in the darkness, the sword just falls. So you kind of have to follow the light wherever you go to be able to do things until you get to like the door to the next level. Eventually there's things to fight. I think there's one here in a second. There's things you might have to dodge, like these falling ceiling things. And again, you'll see you get in the dark and you lose your sword and gotta pick it back up. Which wasn't too bad here. There's actually guts all over the place. Here's one of those little orc things that you can smash off their armor and then kill them if you want to. And then this was like the first big boss, I guess. Yeah. So I guess you basically just have to go poke him in the eye. He's got his little other moves, got hit by some bricks.
He seems unhappy about you being there.
Yeah, well, there's really no way to die either at this point.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because you don't get hurt. So, yeah, so he goes away, and then I think this next part's where you really get to the real mechanics of the game, where it might be hard to see, but at the bottom there's a little cube following you in the dark. And they're all commenting about the slime and that it can't hurt you. But if you feed it, I guess it says it'll eat anything. And so I guess as you feed it, like if I chop down these apples, this thing gets bigger. And so that eventually it can hop on the plate and open the door. But you can see here, I fell and there's nothing to do. I just had to restart that whole level because I got in the darkness. And at this point, there's nothing to do. But they make puzzles out of this to like kind of figured out I can actually chop him to make him smaller so he can fit down this hole. But then I had to like shove some apples and things down there so he'll get bigger and make that pressure plate go down. So it's kind of like a whole puzzle thing at this point. But then they get a little more complicated like this, where my sword's just stuck at the top in the light, but I have to, like, the slime follows you. Like wherever your sword is, he kind of tries to get to wherever you are, at least vertically. So that's where it started getting a little annoying though, because it kind of keeps its distance. Oh, and here's where I finally made my way to like the fairy queen's corpse or something, and stole her body in the slime.
Rude.
In which case now there's
rude.
there's like a glow of light now around that slime. So
that's handy.
you have to stay within that. So if you get outside of it, then you lose the sword and you may have to restart the level again. And so again, there's like kind of more puzzles. I figured out you can hit those arrows and knock them down, but I have to keep moving around so that the slime will follow me. And eventually he works his way back up. You got to cross back. Oh yeah, and if you hit them when they're blocking, you kind of lose control of the sword too.
Those blue arrow things.
Blue arrow things?
The last canoe is following from the sky. I guess it's supposed to look like rain. I don't know.
Oh, those were arrows.
Oh yeah,
Like
those are
volley
like
of arrows.
like orc shooting arrows.
They weren't
So I
just
think this is where I
arrow-looking
started
things.
to get.
They were arrows.
Yeah, you can see there's like a whole timing thing. You got to get on these board, these different moving platforms, but just with that delay, it got kind of annoying.
Oh, because the
Because
slime
you're
follows
trying
the
to
second
time
layer.
things, right? And so you're like trying to make them go fast, and you get outside of that sphere of light, and then you pretty much have to reset the game at that point. And got some new monsters, some spiders and stuff. I think this was the last one I got to where, yep, there I go, fell in the dark, and that's it. Got to restart the level.
Way down too, yeah.
Yep, and I must have tried this like 20 times, and I finally just gave up on this game. Because you'll see here, like you get on this platform, and you can kind of dodge around these guys, and then I guess I was supposed to circle around the other way, but then I got too far away, so the slime jumps off, and then I'm in the dark, and just everywhere I went, like I kept finding all these crazy things that were. It was just very difficult, and I wasn't really quite in the mood to, I don't know, do that kind of game. So I gave up on it pretty much at that point. I don't know if you can go any farther. I even did notice there was more little swords and stones in places, and you got near one, and it made a comment that like that one wouldn't wake up. So I don't know if you can ever like come back and wake up different swords or what.
It looked pretty rich though, so
but
it looked like there was actually a lot of level detail in that.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was like the delay of trying to drag that slime around and stay in the light and all that stuff got a little frustrating. Yeah, I mean, definitely there was a lot that I missed, that I skipped in the story just for time.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that video was already 5 minutes, which is about twice what I usually make these things. But I was just trying to show some of the different mechanics and all the different things. So there was a lot of detail, a lot of different puzzles. And then they got harder and harder as they went. So it kind of taught you things, like incrementally, so you didn't just get tossed into a horrible situation where you just couldn't figure out what was happening. So yeah, overall it's not a terrible game. I just, like I said, I guess my mood at the time wasn't really, I don't know, fit for trying to be so precise with the mouse movements and getting the timing just perfect that I didn't keep falling in the darkness and having to restart levels over and over.
Right.
Were there any mechanics? Were there any mechanics for feeding outside of, you mentioned there was a one instance where you chopped it down and it could fall down and then you had to scoot some apples down there. Were there any other mechanics or reason to get it bigger? Because it looked like through a few of your video snips, you were always making it smaller for a lot of reasons, but rarely feeding the slime to make it bigger.
No, there were times you had to make it bigger, usually to like stand on a pressure plate or something. What else was there? I feel like every time you killed things, you could run them over the corpses and it would get bigger. I think even earlier in the video, there was like some spider things back here that he just ran over. Yeah, those, whatever those little things are here on the ground, you could just run over those and get bigger too. But usually if you kill anything with bits, so there were places that had to be bigger. There were some places that had to be smaller. There were certain places where you wanted it bigger because it took damage and got smaller, like when those arrows were flying, those little blue arrows. Whenever it got hit, it got smaller and smaller, and so you had to either try to protect it or at least give it enough stuff that it could survive the hits, because eventually if it got down to nothing, then you were stuck again, because most of the time you're trying to get the slime to the end of the level.
Could you hide the sword in the slime to protect this from losing the sword for hitting anything?
Nah, you could hover over it, but it wouldn't actually hide it. Like, I think that was, yeah, when I was here, like, you know, it would hover on top, but yeah, it wouldn't actually like hide inside. So there's nothing like that. It was just a matter of, I don't know. I feel like this level you had to precisely know the pattern to go through to make this thing work.
Like a Mario.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, where you just die constantly.
Until you know
Well,
the
technically you
pattern.
don't die. You just fall to the darkness on the floor and have to wait there until you reset the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't like a terrible game. Like you said, there was kind of like richness there. There was a lot of mechanics that they built into it. So yeah, I think it was just kind of, the controls were a little frustrating, I thought, as the main detractor. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know, maybe 7 bananas.
Not bad. You've had a pretty
35
good run
grapes.
of these, I think. Last time it wasn't so good, right? But your first one was really good, and this one's pretty rich.
Yeah. Beacon was pretty good. The other that was Splody Vaders, I guess. Yeah, that one there wasn't much to. But yeah, and yeah, this one wasn't too bad. But I didn't put in a full 2 hours. I even tried. Was it yesterday? I was like, let me start the video again and try to get through this level and see how far I could get. And I think I made like 5 or 6 more attempts. And I'm like, forget it. I'm just making the video. I'm done with this thing. So,
Indeed.
but that was it.
All right. Well, I guess I will go next because I think Andrew wants to go last. So let me see if I can fumble around and share mine.
I mean, I could just jump in. It didn't encode properly, but I could just stream it.
No, we're fine.
From the editor. But you've got it, so go ahead.
Yeah, I've got content ready to
Either
go.
way.
Yeah, this one looked interesting.
Yeah, so my game was Hatch, and it did look pretty interesting. It looked like it would have some good gameplay to it. So it turns out Hatch was less of a game and more of an experience, if you will.
Or a presentation program for use of Agile.
Right. So yeah, it was project management. No, it was a game, and it opens up and you actually hatch from the egg. And I love the bounding box problems here. This is a Unity game, but the camera just goes right through the head. Like, forget about bounding boxes. We're just gonna go straight through. And then there's a little bit, so it feels very game-like here, where we get clues about what you can and cannot do. Don't fall into the gaze of the half-lidded sun or whatever. And if you do, it sounds like a Geiger counter. And I guess this lady over here on the side is being affected by the sun. And as you stand here, you are also affected by the sun. And so whenever you get there, it starts ticking. And by 30 minutes into the game, that sound will induce heavy sweating and a higher pulse every time you hear it. Because it basically kills you. It restarts you.
Geiger counter.
Yeah, the Geiger counter. If it ticks too much, it restarts you and you go back to the beginning. So you just have to avoid that sun and go through it. And I'm showing you the first part of the game sort of in its entirety because this is arguably the most diverse and most interesting part of the game. There's a lot of stuff to look at and a lot of stuff to learn right here. But as soon as we're past this part, you aren't learning anything. You are just dealing with the mechanics of the game and trying to avoid the sun and trying to get through this map for some objective. I don't even truly know what the objective is, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. So there's a flying whale. I definitely want to go up and see the flying whale. And you can see how high up that tower went. So the whole game then becomes you getting up to that tower. And the one mechanic...
hung person?
Yeah, there's hung people down here on the ground. I mean, it looks cool, it looks interesting. And this is the one mechanic right here that we see as I walk up to this wall and just kind of ignore it. At this point, I actually know the mechanic already, but then I realized, oh, my viewers might want to actually see that. So I go ahead and hop down and show them. Let's see if I'll hop down here quickly. Yeah, here we go. So I hop down and back up so that we can see the instructions. These are the only instructions for the game. You need to jump on slanted walls. So what's actually happening here is this is a climbing game. You are a rock climber, and you have to scale this entire summit, which now it's like, well, that's actually kind of cool that that's what's going on. The problem is that you never see yourself doing it. All you see is this first-person perspective of like really bad textures and bounding box problems. And as you continue up, all this variety goes away, and you're just looking at this rock texture over and over. So the biggest challenge I had with it was that, I mean, it's monotonous, right? But it's I couldn't tell what direction I was facing or what angles were. Like there wasn't enough shading clues or contextual information to let you know what was the right angle that you could climb on. So a lot of times you were just taking a risk and jumping and grabbing a wall, hoping that it was angled the right way. So I actually wound up spending just a little over an hour on this, which I don't know what the average on this. I don't know how long it would take you to get all the way to the top. I feel like I was running a little slow, or running into a lot of mistakes. I also didn't realize it had been an hour. I thought it had been like 3 hours. So I wound up giving up after 2 recorded sessions, about 30 minutes each, when I just felt like, all right, I could continue to plug away at this, but it's been so many hours already. Like I just can't continue to burn time on this. But in the end, I wasn't actually burning that much time on it. I wasn't spending nearly as much time as I thought.
Are you sure? Because the game's called Hatch, and you did not look for any like development Easter eggs or anything like that?
So the only thing that I found in I have done this in all the other games is I opened up the code and started playing with it. This one was built in Unity, and I knew that I didn't want to get into the Unity development world because I know that is a rabbit hole. I would wind up spending way more time on that. But there were like some elements in the game as you continued to climb up. There were some things that you'd come across every now and then that were just kind of cool, little Easter eggy sort of things. Like you came across a couch at some point. It turns out every time you come up to a torch, that is a save point. So when you get burned by the sun, then you will just go back to that torch save point. Also, if you fall, you do not die, which on one hand is cool because the potential for climbing up to the top and jumping is there, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. It'd probably take you 10 minutes to fall all the way to the bottom. But on the other hand, if you fall into a place that you can't get out of, you're just kind of stuck, and you have to reload the game to get back to your last save point. I also found out that the same key I had mapped to OBS recording was the reload key. So that was rather disappointing at one point when I decided this is a great place to start recording. I'm about to make it, and I reloaded. I was like, all right, I'm going to call it quits for a little while. Very frustrating. So now you can see, like, I'm...
I understand what you were just holding on to. You're just holding on to the ceiling.
Yeah, see, anytime the wall is slanted, you can climb the wall. And that's the thing, is you can't always tell when walls are slanted because you may be on a slanted wall, right? So it's just not always easy to tell, so you just kind of walk up to walls and test them. And then the way that the textures overlap, sometimes you can't tell that there's actually a gap in the wall that you could go into, which is very important. And here, like, I'm climbing along the top, which wasn't obvious. It keeps the sun out from seeing you, and you can actually wrap around this corner, but it wasn't always obvious if that corner was actually slanted or flat. So sometimes you were taking a risk by just, you'd corner and then you'd just slide down, and that'd be it. And the interior...
It feels like you opened up the console and you typed in no clip, and you're just walking through walls and you're under the actual map of the game.
Exactly. You just fall through.
That's what this feels like looking at this. Like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I think the part that was most frustrating to me in the end, like right now I'm relatively low. I got way higher. Let's see if I can jump to where I was toward the end. So more of that, right? I mean, this is all you see. And so now let's see if I look over the edge at any point. You can still see there's a ways ahead of me. I got to where I could basically see the end, but I felt like there was another hour to getting there. And you can
And then
see
once you got there, it'd probably say you completed level 1, and then you have to do it all over again on level 2.
right. And you can see the little blue stripes down on the ground now. They're a lot smaller now. And it's the only thing you can see down there. Yeah, you can see the whales getting bigger. So part of me really wants to finish this because I feel like this is achievable and I should be able to do this. And it's just like you just got to take time and do it. The other part of me was like, this is really tedious. All I want to do is jump. And the frustrating part to me, despite all the things I'm saying, the other frustrating thing was that I really just wanted to like step back to a third-person view, and if this is a climbing game, I want to see my guy climbing up the side and doing like interesting moves to climb up. I think that would make this really cool if we could actually see him climbing.
I'm annoyed by you just keep climbing up things that I don't think are possible. Like it doesn't look like there's anything there, then all of a sudden you just keep walking up it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I mean,
exactly like
game.
EverQuest in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the textures are kind of rough. I'm not sure why that's a thing. Like, why you can't just have better textures.
So I saw that you jumped a minute ago, and
Yeah.
it looked like that. I would say you were in low gravity with that jump. Did that change at all as you went higher? Could you jump more and more like you were?
The jump was really low gravity, so the jump was interesting because you jump and you'd hover a bit. You know, you were popping up pretty high. So I think the mechanic in that regard was pretty cool. And you could jump while you're on the rock face too. So you could be climbing, and then times you would have to maybe jump over a gap or jump and catch another level above you, and then climb on that. So that's where I was like, if I had a third-person view on this, I think it would be really cool and interesting and a little more entertaining. But as it was, you're just staring at like bad texture the whole time, and it's hard to tell even what direction you're facing. But I also needed the perspective of what am I climbing? Because it was hard to get a strategy for climbing the surface without really knowing what side am I on, what is the shape of it, what direction am I going in. All of that was very hard.
Did you ever try to jump, or were you afraid you're going to land on a torch at the bottom and have to start over?
Yeah, exactly. I did jump once just to see kind of how far I would go. And I started falling, and I fell for a good while, and then I was thinking, oh man, I may have to reload from this point. Like, that's going to be awful. And when I landed, I was fine, and I looked around, and I was like, I have no idea where I am. So that was the other hard thing, is that whenever you restarted, or if you fell and landed in a spot, it wasn't memorable enough that you knew where you were and knew how to get back to where you were. So jumping just meant that I've just reset my timer. Like, I've got who knows how long to get back to where I was, because I have no idea where I am now. There wasn't enough variety for you to be able to key off things in the environment.
Well, to your point, if it's a climbing game, it feels like you'd want to look out to some spectacular views.
Yeah.
And the graphics weren't quite there for that.
Right. And maybe you get that at the very top, but you know, there should be some.
I think they put a whale there just to distract you from the lack of views.
Right. Yeah, the whale is really what made it. I mean, this game was nothing without the whale. So because of that, I'm going to give it an extra banana. The music was not annoying. You know, it was nice, mellow music. So it's a good vibing kind of game. It was very low pressure. So it was okay, and it felt achievable, so I kind of wanted to keep playing it. It just got a little too monotonous. So I would give it I'd give it 5, just because I think that some people actually would enjoy just kind of I don't want to say low skill, but there's just not a lot of different things that you can do. So it's really just like
it's a mindless activity.
Yeah, it's like a mindless activity. It's like solitaire. You just climb in this rock.
Like you play in windowed mode while you're reading a story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could
Yeah.
be watching a movie and climbing this mountain over here on the side. So, I think a lot
You
of
want the
people actually would
experience.
enjoy it.
It's the experience of running on a treadmill without actually running.
That's right.
Just the
With
view
all of
doesn't
that-
change.
with
You
all that
just keep
sweat.
working.
Indeed. Yeah, so I give it 5 because I think some people actually would enjoy that type of game. It wasn't exactly my thing, but I had high hopes for it, so I put in some time. I may actually go back and continue to get to the top because I am very curious what happens at the top. Hopefully something.
It's on an endless loop and there is no top.
Right? Yeah, it could be a procedural.
Are you going to go back to it, or are you
Right.
going to just shortcut in a quick Google search and?
Oh well, I could
find
do
out
that.
what's
Find a
at the
video
end?
of somebody who just did it. I just didn't think it was popular enough that anybody actually did that.
That's the cross section I ran at with mine. Was that I'm hoping my wife gets to the end so that she can share that experience with me and I can kind of know the unknown, but
Right,
at the same
right.
time I know that I'm going to struggle doing it because of the issues I ran into. So unless there's a let's play out there, I'm really relying on her to figure it out.
All right, best for last.
Oh no, this is absolutely the best. If you want to talk about stress-free and stress at the same time, let me share out my screen.
Cold sweats, is that what that is?
Yeah.
I'll set you at ease by complimenting you on your microphone, your audio setup now. It's very, very crisp.
Very professional.
Thank you.
Get started on the right mindset.
Oh, I
there.
can't.
I can't tell the
do
difference between
1080,
now and before.
Ugh. Non-audio
Oh, nice. Back to the shop. This whole setup goes. So I can't do 720 or 30 because I don't have nitro. But I'm just gonna share. Let me know if you can actually see that.
Yeah, man. Refactor, good game.
All right. Yeah. Sock Puppet Refactor. So this was originally an album. So he wrote and composed this music. It's just one dude out there that put this all together, and then he started chipping away at, which is I guess maybe a side project he's got, and I don't think he's trying to really monetize this. This feels very much like just it's experimental. So you kind of see the the 3 highlighted tracks.
Even during his, he was getting a little choppy.
Oh,
Yeah. The video cut out for me for a good minute or two.
Oh yeah, the whole thing cut out.
I could hear the sound. I couldn't see it.
Yeah, it looked like Discord
Well, I'm
You're right.
client
He's
just
got to get that
relaunched on me.
QoS.
My Chrome browser just keeps going off snap. Looks like we lost it and had to refresh it.
I feel like that was a Discord server error.
Wait, you doing this in a browser?
He's
I am
right.
because if I don't do my camera in a browser, it has these green choppy lines to it the whole time. I don't understand it.
Oh, interesting.
you guys hear me and see me?
We can now.
I do now.
We think the Discord server just borked. Everybody got
Where
kicked.
did you lose me?
Right at the
Because
beginning.
I completed my
After-
review.
You
said
said
I'm
After
gonna
you
pause
said you
for a
paused
while.
your review,
you had three
and then you
songs, and
Yeah.
then we never got to hear them.
Oh, all right. Well,
Yeah, you
That's
said
the
you paused
review.
waiting for Olaf and then rage quit.
yeah.
all right. So are we back on? Are you capturing Olaf?
Yeah, I never stopped.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll go back into it then.
And what were you recording when you were gone?
Darkness,
Right.
like my soul.
The whales found the top.
My interest is not in that there was static on the recording; it's that there was 7.5 hours of it.
Right.
Ooh, that is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, let me take it from the top again. So this dude, right, just doing this on the side of his desk. If you, I strongly urge you go look into, and I could post the README file. He's got a whole site that he blogs, and he's got just just amazing. I spent more time on his site reading just upon all his random content, more so than playing the 10 minutes and 57 seconds, which I actually completed the game. I could not spend 2 hours on it. There's not 2 hours worth of content. So this was originally an album that he composed, or it felt like, and it reads like he composed it, and just kind of reading up on his site. But there are 13 tracks, and only 3 of them are playable right now. And I think he's just adding them as, if he feels like it at some point. So I'll kind of roll clip here.
Do we get to hear them?
Can you see that okay?
Yeah,
Is it
and
actually
we can
playing?
hear it. That's great.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
it falling.
Great. So I'm just gonna cut. Look at the score on the top left. Like, it just keeps adding more things to the screen. Obviously, you can see that I'm cutting in the clip, right, and very intentionally. Otherwise, you'd have to spend 5 minutes watching this. And it does this. It just keeps amplifying and exponentially growing and adding things to the screen. It just
I love
keeps
this.
going. It's
Wow.
amazing.
A weird version
There
of
should be like a
Breakout.
little warning if you experience seizures because of flickering, that this is not a game for you. Notice my score again. Like, this is maybe let me pause on that for a second. Let me
Wait, what
bring that
happened?
back.
That
Well,
was very
it's
jarring.
onto the next game there, right? So 184,000 points. Try to beat that.
That was
I
like
could see
Breakout on
this.
LSD.
So you kind of heard the track, and it just keeps going and going. The game ends when the song ends. That's the end state.
Okay.
And I could see maybe like David Mason and the Mason Boys playing this just to see how many points they could get by the end of the timer.
Right.
Like, it's one of those types of games, just like a quick challenge. There's no real replay value here. Unless you like the song, then go for it. So that's the first track. The second track is a little bit calmer. And I kind of cut to the chase here. There's a whole sequence. I'll just let this kind of finish off here. There's a whole sequence. You come down the stairs here, and you're basically answering a series of questions.
Now we're playing Stardew Valley.
I played this actually twice through. The first time trying to figure out what I need to do, what's the point of the story, where do I need to go. You're looking at the second playthrough. I'm just kind of fast forwarding. I'm selecting random answers here. It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, the story here is you're not sure if you know who this person is. Hence the song "Who's This in My House." It gets stuck on this. You got to go to the doctor, see the doctor component or portion of the game. You can't go any further until there you go. So you can't do anything until the doctor. You don't go any further, and there's a timer, right? Once it hits this part of the song, then you kind of step back and you're out of control, right? There are no controls. You just enjoy the sequence.
This feels like a very personal, intimate story.
It does.
Well, you know what this reminds me of is there was a game that a developer made based on, or it had something to do with like the last moments or the whole story of his child's life or something that died of I don't know if it died of like terminal cancer, like 3 or 4 or a young age. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but basically the guy tried to immortalize that into a game and made a game, and I think it's out there on Steam. But reminds me of this, is that whatever, through the music or whatever else, the lyrics and the music, if that's maybe what this person maybe is doing or trying to express, and show that visually.
Right.
Yeah, there's a short film or clip out there. I think it's maybe 30 minutes long, or if even that much, that does something very similar, and it's a doodle, and it's like the person's brain slowly starts to degenerate and they don't remember things, and we might be talking about the same thing, but that's what this felt like. But that's it. You just saw the game, right? You obviously compressed down from 3
Well, there
minutes
was a
and
third
change
track
down
too,
to
right? Was it different?
Well, yeah, I'm just want to wrap this one up, and
Oh,
I'll
okay.
go on to the probably the best part of this, right? So, and I'm wondering if there's gonna be more, because I can't wait to play the
Yeah,
next
15
rounds of
tracks.
But we'll see. Yeah, 15 tracks. So while the first one is super chaotic and just keeps amplifying, and the hits keep coming, the second one is this, a little bit of a
Melancholy.
emotional, tap into your emotional, pulling on the heartstrings maybe a little bit, and then you reach the last track, and this is it. And then you're zen. You've now transcended another
Getting points though.
plane. That's
Those gold coins.
and you're also
falling.
collecting coins with your bottom. At some point,
Bet
you
your
will
bottom. Oh,
you'll transition into various animals. That's it. That's what this is. I just cut to the
Hey, Olaf,
chase.
until you said you
There's
were falling, I
there's
didn't
about a
realize
minute.
that.
yeah.
I
What
thought
was
the
that?
sides were closing in on you.
Right, you're falling into.
Yeah, you just keep falling, and that's
ravine.
it. That's all that game is. So that one's a minute and change.
Very interesting. I
ridiculous.
would be interested to know if these tracks get filled out and more games get put into them.
Yeah.
That's quite a.
So the same guy did all the music and everything?
Apparently so. And while it's very, very experimental, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not something that is meant for, I think, mass distribution and consumption. This is
Very
not this is
personal.
not a title you'll see on Steam. Yeah, I think this is very personal, and I appreciate the level of effort, and it's a little bit. I mean, it's out there. It's
Well,
a
and
little
they're
bit
so
out there,
different. Like
right?
each of the
Just like
game modes are so different.
that's what I mean, right? Like
Yeah.
it goes from the left to the right, right? Like the scale. And then
It's
I
releasing an
heard that
album
like
in
Olaf,
pieces.
I could see you reading up on his blog and like just finding some nuggets of just gold out there.
Right.
But I'd give this a good 5, just based on like the content that it has out there on his blog, plus what he's trying to do experimentally.
Because you also think some
not
people
so
would
much
enjoy it.
replay value. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as an experience, I think it's probably worth going through for fun. So at the culmination,
I had my sister over, and I had to show her, and it almost blew her mind.
she got into it.
She was trying to figure out, well, what's the point? She did. She got into watching me play it, and she was trying to figure out what is the point. And I'm like, yeah, good. That's right.
Why is Andrew almost in tears? I don't get it. What's going on?
Are you okay?
You don't understand. At the conclusion of our night here, the other exciting topic is that there is now a bot active, so we can properly get a randomized title delivered to us. The bot is up and running now. I have not actually tested it on our server, so this will be the maiden voyage for Gamer Gambit bot. So I'm in the Gamer Gambit text area. And so that command is what you would need to run in order for it to work. And let's just see if it works.
So all these years in IT, and you go straight to production.
I know. Well, and it.
Oh no, he's been testing it in the other server all day.
Well, I was gonna say clearly it didn't work. So the let me make sure it's actually running. Oh, it's not running.
What's the name of the bot?
Well, it's you put in the bot's name is Gamer Gambit, and he's not on because we had that internet blip earlier. So I need to restart it.
I would imagine that the bot won't work if the bot's not there.
That's right. If the bot's not talking. Let me find my node window. Yes.
So are you running this server?
Yeah.
I don't know anything on how Discord works.
Well, Discord runs the server, so that's when I said Discord server borked. That's their problem. The bots though are running. This bot's running on my machine right now.
Okay. So it's just code you have running that basically like ties into a channel or something and listens.
It becomes a user.
Chatbot basically.
Like webhooks, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, there we go. Just like that.
So before we all flood it.
Yeah.
So this is your game. You're now assigned, and you don't have to go and copy paste all that.
That's right. No, this did it all. It assigned it to me, and I can go and report and show like who got assigned what, at any given time. I forgot to add a date.
And if we roll something,
it does the roll for you.
If we don't,
it does the roll for you automatically.
No, I mean if we don't know that we'll be there next week. Do we roll now and just hold on until we're done, or we just wait until later and then do it?
I'll leave it up to you.
So I wasn't here last week, but I held on to the game.
Right.
So why don't we just do that?
Yeah, you could do that. Just
hold
roll and then
you're ready
hold what you got. This one looks great, by the way. Pew Pepo.
I'm looking at mine now.
Modern fantasy story game. You're gonna hate that.
House of Chords.
Okay, let's hope this isn't another PDF.
Lucky roll.
Big money, big.
Ooh, what is that? Is that a book?
All right, so I got Voltage
like
Genesis, which says freely explore a deadly wasteland as you uncover a plot to awaken an ancient evil. I feel like this is going to be Hatch all over again, but we'll see. I'll wait.
No, that was Vampire Rock Climbers. This is totally different than that.
Charles got Pupae Po, Space Deluxe. Hop into your spaceship and battle waves of opponents to find the legendary space.
It looks like the perfect game for me. It's made for like a 4-year-old.
100% more deluxe than ever. I like it. That's great. House of Cards for Jamie, a modern fantasy story game. Archetypes of the Tarot. Choose bearers to fight nightmares from beyond the looking glass. Sounds exhilarating. And then Corey.
I want $10 for this thing. It better be good.
Right. Corey got The Whisper in Darkness. Rumors resurface. Legends are resurrected. Nice.
Oh, damn it.
My life.
And lastly, we have Praxis Arcanum, which I remember seeing this in the list for Andrew. And this is a role-playing game deck builder where your actions shape who you become. So this will be interesting if it is, in fact, a game or if it's instructions on how to create a game. I'd be interested to know.
Mine looks like it has PDFs. One's 23 megs.
Yeah, yours is a book.
Mine is a visual novel.
A visual novel, okay.
That's a comic book, right?
So a comic book, yeah.
Also known
Whispers
as
in Darkness is a visual novel based on the comic horse story by H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay, that sounds good. Mine is currently on sale for $2. So if somebody would like to purchase individually, then that's what they'd pay for it. It looks great. It looks like Zelda. I'm looking forward to it then.
Mine does say it's a physical, in the category of physical game.
A physical game. Okay, we're going to need to see footage
That's
of
what
that.
it says under category when I probably have to print the entire card deck or something.
Right. Yeah, get the family involved.
The Whisper in Darkness is a short, focused experience which takes under an hour for a full playthrough.
Oh,
The story
perfect.
has no branching choices and only one ending.
Perfect.
My life.
Sounds like you have to play it twice.
That's right.
It's a book.